We now have 20 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, for questions before we take a break before our next afternoon session. So I'm going to open the floor. And I know you're all a real shy, retiring bunch that won't want to stand up. But if you do have a question, if you want to stand up, raise your hand. Again, introduce yourself, where you're from. And if you have a particular speaker that you'd like to direct the question to, we have roaming mics on both sides of the room. A question at the back there.
Hi, Balfour Stewart, destination leader for the Lothians, and we're also the bus stop in East Lothian. I'd just like to ask Vicki, there was some data out at the weekend that visitor numbers are now down in the Edinburgh area. Did she see these figures, or are they just hearsay?
I'm not sure. Was it in relation to maybe the festival rather than overall numbers? Because overall numbers are up.
I just noticed figures saying that this was a trend or something, but I'm not sure.
I think when you look at, probably when you combine, so international is up, you'll see that domestic is down. And therefore overall it means we are slightly below where we were in 2019. So that, I think that's probably the what it's referring to. Although I did read something that it was in relation to the festival. It may also have been related to that. But I think when you combine international and domestic together in volume terms, we are slightly down on pre-COVID. International trending up the way domestic down. In 23, that is.
Got a question from Caroline over on the left there. Remember, guys, if you don't want to stand up, you can use Slido to pop a question in, and we'll pick those up here for you.
Hi, thank you, Lindsay. I'm Caroline Ronald from Invergary. I'm the Highland Destination Leader. Up in the area that I'm in, we have an increased amount of Asian, Chinese and Indian visitors. And I did work in a local business for a while there, where Indians and Chinese are bringing along their own noodles and their own food because they don't get the food that they require for their diets. Is that something that Visit Scotland would have any research done on, that, you know, to see where we should be offering for the visitors intended to come to the country?
Yeah, there is actually on visitscotland.org, and actually going back to the previous question, you can delve into the data that I presented to look at regional level data. But yes, there is a toolkit on visitscotland.org, and actually which goes into what to expect from the Chinese market. What are some of the things that you would need to do to kind of reach that market, so the kind of channels that are going to be important, but also just culturally, what are some of the things that we need to consider if, you know, when we're accommodating Chinese visitors. So yes, there is support, and we have a team that are very focused in that market, and we do some market immersions on all of our different markets. So there will be, I think, a webinar content as well on visitscotland.org, and I'll find that out and make sure that we send a link round after the event to the toolkit and the data on China.
Thank you. Have we got any other questions from the floor at the moment?
There's another one over there.
There's somebody also right at the back.
Hiya. I'm Aylwyn Pillay from Kincloon House and Estate. Another question for Vicki, sorry. I just wanted to say, so we've just had our first year completed of being open with Kincloon House, which is a sleeps 14 baronial mansion. And I just wanted to say I was quite encouraged by what you said about international visitors. And I think maybe that's been borne out in our first year's experience. We've had Indians, Americans, really Netherlands, Denmark, all over the world. That's been fantastic. But the best tool for us to find those people has been Airbnb. Everyone might gasp. That's what's worked out for us. I just sort of wanted to make an observation about the Visit Scotland website. So we're on the Visit Scotland website, and I saw there the numbers are really, really low for the number of people, tourists who are finding their accommodation or whatever via Visit Scotland. And I just want to say, I know it's not going to be your remit, but the website is so outdated. And if we are presenting ourselves as a wonderful destination, which we are, then why is the Visit Scotland website so absolutely dreadful?
Okay. Right, so on that one, yes, and apologies, I didn't talk to that bullet point when I was kind of working my way through the slides. So I would say, you know, the website has played a different role over time in the customer journey. And all the kind of data that we now have, and actually we're doing a bit of research on the website right now to kind of really find out where we need to take that website as a destination website. I think where it started out was very much as a booking site. It was a booking engine for many small, you know, for all of the businesses in Scotland that maybe didn't have, I mean, this is going back, you know, 10 years or so, when there wasn't, you know, the size and scale of OTAs and the way that consumers are now actually looking and booking. So what we have learned through our research is that visitors will not use any destination website, not just the Visit Scotland one, to book. That's not where they're expecting to see the most up-to-the-minute deals. They are looking at comparison websites. They are going to their OTA website of choice. And as I said, that varies by market. Ctrip in China, Expedia in the US, Booking.com is probably the biggest in the UK. Also factor in Europe, but then in Germany there are proprietary OTAs that the Germans will use. So it really does vary by market. What we have learned about our website is it's much more about that early part of the customer journey. I'm interested in coming to Scotland. What are the kinds of experiences that I can have in Scotland? Is Scotland the place that I want to come versus Ireland? So Scotland is already in their thinking as being a place to visit, and it's much more about what can I expect and what can I do when I'm there. They will look at listings. They will look at your accommodation listings, your attraction, you know, your experience and attraction listings, but they will do the booking elsewhere. So I think there's been a real change in the role of our website, and actually it used to be the single biggest channel that we had. It still gets, you know, 11 million unique visits per annum. But as you can see probably from some of the social media stats that I showed, they have become our biggest channels, not just in terms of inspiration, but actually we know that that is also then driving bookings to your business, which is why we will always, if we're promoting a business, we'll tag the business. You know, and we would encourage you as well to, you know, to tag us. All of that important tagging, hashtags, really important social media, because it makes it really easy for visitors to kind of curate that Scotland level information. So I think I agree with you. The website has kind of done a job to now, but it needs to evolve to, I think, play into that storytelling space a lot more and that visual content, and incorporate more of that user-generated content that is shared with us, that we actually have permission to use through the visitors that engage with our social channels, because that is the kind of content that is really making a difference. So I would agree with you. I think we've got a job to do to evolve it to where it needs to be now. But it will never, I think based on the visitor research, it will not be a booking channel. That's not what visitors are looking to use it for. So hopefully that kind of explains that role. And it's important that, you know, we constantly stay on top of those trends to understand and evolve that kind of channel mix in line with what consumers are doing. And we've definitely seen a shift there.
Thanks, Vicki. Clearly an evolving marketplace, and one that storytelling plays a big part in.
Yeah.
We're going to jump across to Amanda and take a question from Slido now. Is there any support for small food producers likely to be in the future? I know we used to have the food production and marketing grants out there. Is there likely to be a return to that?
That's probably not a question for me. We're waiting to hear what the Scottish budget is going to be, obviously. We'll get an update on that before Christmas. We'll then find out what the food and drink plans are going to be. In terms of things that exist right now, though, we have a network of regional food groups that exist right across Scotland. There's 16 regional food groups. If you are a small local producer and you're not connected into your local one, you should be, because again, you can get some help from them regarding your business, the marketing. They bring you together, allow you to collaborate and network, and they then feed into some of the events that Scotland Food and Drink run, which provide some commercial opportunities as well.
Perfect, thank you. Any other questions from the floor? We have one right up at the back. I think, have you got a microphone already yet?
Yes, I have. Hi, I'm Katrina Reynolds from Allenton Inn and soon to be Borderlands Food Tours down on the Scottish borders. Just following on actually from the last two questions, the one before the last, second last question, we've been a tourism business for the last 15 years. We've not really had much business through Visit Scotland, but recently in developing Borderland Food Tours, it's been really useful, the support I'm getting from Visit Scotland with the travel trade. So I think going forward, that's something that it's new to me, being in the industry for 15 years, just learning about the travel trade and the power of the travel trade, and that probably is useful for a lot of people in the room. And for Amanda, I was just going to say, we're one of your 50 businesses that is on the bookable food experiences. It's a fantastic programme, really enjoying it, and like you say, I think a lot of people in the room again would benefit from doing that if you were to run it again.
Great, thank you. It's maybe worth just touching there, Vicki, in terms of travel trade. A lot of people think about travel trade as big groups, but I don't know if you want to delve into that in a little bit more detail.
Yeah, and I think, you know, there's definitely a growing interest, and Rona, I think, who's in the room somewhere, maybe she'll wave at me, we've recognised that, so actually we're growing Rona's team in order to kind of support, I think, the demand that's coming from business in that whole area. So travel trade is absolutely not just big groups, it's small groups, and it's also still FIT, or what we call, you know, kind of independent travellers who are still booking through a travel intermediary. And again, if you think about it, it varies a little bit by market in terms of how people are looking and booking. The further away they are from Scotland, particularly those long haul, an independent traveller will still use a travel agent or a tour operator, particularly if they're wanting something quite bespoke. You know, if they're looking for somebody to kind of really create a unique itinerary for them. And bearing in mind as well that international travellers will tend to do multiple destinations in Scotland, they'll not just go to the same place. So they're looking for that kind of guided hand in terms of how they look and book. And so it really does give an opportunity to think about you know, your business, the kind of size of party you might be interested in or can cope with, but also the time of year and the type of visitor you want to attract, because there are lots of options in there. And you know, that's where Rona and the team can come in to guide you as to kind of what market, what size of party, to help you maybe even develop the offer a little bit. As I say, there are lots of opportunities, and it does it allows you to build relationships directly with operators who you're building a long-term relationship for, and it does guarantee those forward bookings. So it takes some of the pressure off, I think, as well.
Yeah. We've got another one here on Slido. What one really tangible thing could any agritourism business, food and drink experience do to increase their reach to international visitors and their appeal to international visitors? I don't know if it's you, Vicki, or do you want to jump in, Amanda?
I mean, it's probably, I think about the experience that you offer and what it is you want to sell, but it's about, again, it's back to that channel mix. And thinking about how you want to do that, whether that's through, you know, new routes to market, and or working with the travel trade, I would say. Key starting point is maybe have a conversation with us around, you know, what your ambition is, and we can help.
Yeah, I was going to say marketing generally actually is know how you're going to market yourself. What channel, what's your message, what's your USP. You know, pretty standard, simple stuff, but it's really important to get that right.
Okay. We've got a gentleman in the centre here with a question.
Yeah, thanks. So, sorry, I forgot your name, but this is to the lady from Scotland Food and Drink. So thanks for your presentation. It's obviously very positive in terms of customers and looking to pay more for food with Scottish provenance. But you know, as a commercial lamb and beef producer in Scotland, as well as an agritourism owner, we've gradually over the last 10 years seen our premium for Scotch beef and lamb eroded. There's now effectively no premium for Scotch lamb, and the beef premium is really all but gone. So if your research is right, you're correct, your surveys, there's obviously something broken in the retail chain somewhere. I see QMS is one of your partners, and I just wondered if you'd like to comment on that, why we're not actually seeing that at Farmgate.
I probably find that quite difficult to
I think in terms of
comment on.
Amanda's role within Scotland Food and Drink, is probably not the right person to be asking that question to. We do have a number of questions coming through around abattoirs as well. Again, it's not Amanda's focus from that side of things, and I think we can potentially pivot those questions back into our Scottish Government session where we can potentially have more effect in terms of those discussions as well. We have a few minutes left if there are any last minute questions from the floor. We got one from Fiona here, and then I'll come to you next.
Hi, Fiona Smith from Westerton Farm. We're one of the monitor farms for Scotland. We've been looking into getting a brown sign for our business, and we're finding the cost of them quite prohibitive. I was just wondering if there's any plans on helping businesses achieve them, or if there's maybe more, I don't know, a more cost-effective way of showing where we are with Visit Scotland in terms of the roads and things. It's really difficult to justify the cost of them for a small business.
So brown signs. So we are not responsible for brown signs. That's obviously either local authority or Transport Scotland. What we do though is help to manage that kind of brown sign application process, working in partnership with Transport Scotland, and we are just going through a slight change to that process at the moment. And you'll find more information on that on visitscotland.org. The cost is, and the other thing I would say is that brown signs, very much from a local authority and a Transport Scotland perspective, are there for road safety. So actually, if you look at the criteria around brown signs, I think businesses tend to think of it as it's another way I can market my business, but actually how the authorities are looking at it, it's more about road safety. It's about directional signage. You know, if you are, I guess, off the beaten track, if you're on a main road and, you know, that you anticipate a lot of traffic going to that particular business or attraction, they will then think, right, that is important, that merits having a brown sign in order to signpost to visitors. So actually, the purpose of a brown sign is around road safety, and the cost is the cost of determined by local authorities and Transport Scotland, I'm afraid.
Mm-hmm. We are unfortunately going to have to finish up. We've got one last question on the floor, do we? Yeah, right there.
Hi there, it's Digby Lamott from Guardswell Farm. Amanda, just looking at your data, it's not surprising that you see that we export a lot of our high quality food, and Providence has cared more about abroad, especially in Europe. So a big part of that is around education. So are Scotland Food and Drink partnering with farms or farmers to try and educate people on where food should come from and why Providence is important?
I think, Amanda, can I just tag on to that? There's a question here in terms of how can we achieve and maintain the premium pricing for high quality food through agritourism experiences?
Okay. So yes, naturally Scottish that I showed you the beginning of my presentation is I suppose the Scotland Food and Drink industry coming together to help promote ourselves right across to different audiences, absolutely reaching into all elements of our sectors. absolutely thinking about how we can get into schools, talk to kids about the importance of food and where it comes from and why it's important. We go out into the world as well through our external export international partners, and we talk to people across the world about the importance of Scottish food and drink provenance as well. It's a big world and a big audience and a big job, and a lot of that is about starting here at home and making sure people do absolutely understand. And I know a lot of our partners that work predominantly in the agri sector do a lot of work around talking about where food and drink comes from and organising farm trips. The second part of the question was about the value.
How do we continue to achieve premium price and value?
Yeah, and some of it is actually, it's about understanding the proposition and understanding how much people are willing to pay for it as well. It's about it being special and about being quality and about being value and people recognising that in all of the attributes. So it's about telling the story. It's not just about putting a beef with a pepper sauce on a menu. It's telling the story about where that beef has come from, who reared it, you know, which field it might actually have been, you know, fed in. It's about the farmer, it's about the chef, it's about where all the ingredients come from. So we talk a lot about storytelling, but I think more than ever storytelling's something that consumers really just want more and more of. They want that person-to-person bit. They want the empathy. They want to live and love the experience.
And just to add to that, again, we work together as two organisations to create a food and drink toolkit, which also sits on visitscotland.org, which is all about that. It's all about how to do that storytelling and the importance of it, and some of the data that underpins that.
Yep. Thank you very much, ladies. Unfortunately, we don't have any more time for more questions today. Thank you everyone who inputted into that. I think if we take anything away from today, it is that storytelling is really key in terms of how you sell both your agritourism and food and drink products. People with passion, this room is filled with you.